Good afternoon, dear people. I just had a bit of a shock. I just tried to go live and it said, go live is not available now. Why? Well, it's 1 minute to 4 in the United Kingdom. I hope we are all very well. Quite a nice day here now. I started my day on the South Coast and I find myself now in the East Midlands. And yes, so 24 of you watching. That's great. So lovely. Who's on? Mark Stevens. Hi. Joy Inglis. Well done. Some nice, interesting names. Tubagista. Were you Kristen Tubagista? I would have a word with your parents about that. Tubagista. I think it's a handle. You're there. But you're from the Philippines and you're a tuba player, so welcome. Andrew Porter. Where are the grey South Lakes? And why are they grey? Are you sad? Oh, no, it's the lakes that are grey. Great to have you there, Andrew Hodge. Questions. I'll come to that. Dirk. Hello, Dirk. Micah. Hello, Micah. Yes, keeping well. Jefferson. Wow. From Brazil. Incredible. Whatever the word is in Portuguese. So it's 4 o'clock and I start with a news item. Ladies and gentlemen, I have some good news. As many of you know, I have been very concerned about my parents. Hi, Orally. That's great. My father is out of hospital since 2 days, and my mother should be coming out tomorrow lunchtime. If she has a good night tonight, Mum will be out of hospital tomorrow, which is brilliant. The sun is not shining, Andrew. Well, it kind of is here, and it definitely was yesterday. As you can see, my head is turned into a kind of radioactive half moon. So if you just look at that, you really should be very scared. I went for a walk on Mudderford Beach yesterday, and it was very windy, 40-mile-an-hour winds. The sun was out, but it felt cold. I had a jacket on. And when I got back to where I was staying, I looked at my head and I thought, oh dear. So I kind of polished it, put some shoe polish on, skin cream, but whatever, I don't know. And it's hot. I could almost, if the chat gets really boring, I'm going to get an egg and put it on my head and see what happens. So yes. Hi, Emily. Wonderful. From Staffordshire. Right. We're going to get down to business. I've already told you the news, the good news about my family. All being well, both Mum and Dad will be out of hospital by tomorrow lunchtime. And Mum needs to get strong. I need a lot of care because she has been very weak and really didn't eat anything at all except fluids for 8 days. I need a diet like that, actually, after the lockdown. Fluids only for a few days, except for beer. That's okay. Right, so questions. This is the last in this series of questions. And next Saturday, we are together. You can all come here, probably not, and do a 90-minute recap on everything, talk about maybe some of these things, and I'll play for you. And we will do some exercises, and I'll try and post some music by Thursday that you can have or Wednesday maybe, you can have a crafty look at. Okay, so the first question I see is regarding how to memorize music. That's very good. Some people have a system for memorizing music. I remember when I was the teacher of Dr. David Thornton, as he is now, at the RNCM, he always made a point of memorizing the pieces that he was studying. Some students didn't like to do that. Just, well, maybe this piece is okay, and this one I'll read the music. David liked to memorize things. And he had a system of just saying, I shall memorize this page and half of this page by next week. And he would come in next week. Perfect. I will now learn the next 2 pages. Absolutely great. Repetition, small phrases over and over again. I think the most challenging I had to do was in 2007. I had a gig at the Milan fashion show as a guest musician for Roberto Di Camerino. So it was a live fashion show with about 800 people in the audience and about 2 million worldwide. The biggest audience I ever had. And you can't go there like you're in a, solo competition, put your stand up. I'm going to play a couple of solos now. No, it all had to be part of the show. So the other problem is that they changed the music about 3 weeks before, because I'd learned a program and they said, actually, some of these pieces are going to change. So that was, and it was just repetition. I just sat in a room for 6 hours playing things over and over again and again and again, 12 times. And then I'd go on to the next piece, do that, and I'd go back. And so that was kind of panic learning when you know that 2 million people are going to be watching you. And the success of a fashion show depended on the little bald guy remembering his notes. That was quite fun. And at one point I had to walk down the catwalk, and these models, that was a fantasy, but it really did happen. And I did learn it, and I didn't forget anything. But boy, that was 20-minute show of all different Gershwin songs and jazzy stuff, and So the answer to the question: everyone has their own system of memorizing music. If you play something enough, if you're working on a solo and you play it for an hour a day, you will discover, even after a week, if you close your eyes, you can probably play at least half of it. And then if it's a conscious memorization, then that part of the brain opens up and says, okay, let's fill this part of the brain with these notes in the correct order. So there's no disadvantages, Andrew, about memorizing music. The only problem I have is when you memorize a piece of music or some pieces for a recital, because you want to memorize because you can communicate with the audience, and then you see the performer standing there like more than half the piece with their eyes tight shut because they're trying to remember it. So the whole purpose of learning memorization. And similarly, I have to be honest, with one of the Japanese solo competitions where the whole program and every competitor has to play from memory. So yes, of course, the best players will shine, but for the vast majority of them, that process was about memorizing the music. And so some of the beautiful elements, expressive elements, were kind of swept to one side, where the person desperately didn't try to forget the notes. So I have a problem with that aspect. You have to learn it, like you have to learn it, like learning pi to, 100 places. People can do that, but, it's not going to get you a job. It's not going to get you out of a tight spot. It's not going to help with your social skills. So I would suggest that you take a couple of pieces that you kind of half know and make a point of learning them. So the point, you can just play it through. And if you do go to memorization, don't worry about playing slow pieces slowly. When you're working on memorization, take the Swan, our tune from weeks ago. Or change hands. I sometimes, if I'm doing a memory thing with some pieces, I just do like a high-speed check. And then hopefully, when you play slowly, everything's fine. So Andrew, good luck with that. Take on a challenge, yeah? Jermaine Fryer, hello. So many exclamation marks. It's like, hello. Hi. Nice to see you, Jefferson. Yeah, we did that bit already. Hello, hello, hello. Bonjour. Comment ça va? The sun is not shining. David, I look rested. Do you mean I look red? Is that another word for rested? You're going off to a Zoom birthday party. Well, that went well. And we can say lots of bad things about David Abrahams because he's just gone. But I couldn't say anything bad about him. And he had a birthday this week. Greetings from Hamburg. Oh, that's great. B flat, another beautiful name. Really, how did your parents know you were going to be a musician? B flat. Just B natural would have been fine. Hi from Russia. From Russia with love. Oh, that's lovely. Now, where I can't even pronounce that name. Where in Russia are you? Tell me more. Dana, good afternoon. I think you were on last time. Lucas, Jose Manuel Fernandez Castro, or Lucas for short. Hi. These are not questions. Practicing technical sections slowly and speeding up versus short sections at the fast tempo and then string them together. Very serious question. Very serious question mark. Question mark. It was a question mark. Stevens. Your views on practicing technical sections slowly. Well, all musicians of all instruments need to do that. Pianists do that. Violinists do that. Percussionists do that. It's nothing specific to low brass that we should do that. And then speeding up versus taking short sections at the fast tempo and then stringing them together. Well, the problem is, Mark, to answer your question, Mark, I got a bit of a hook on that one, is it really perfect? Let's take an example. Let's take the second variation of Rule Britannia, okay? So that's a high-speed version of the first 8 bars. Now, I could go. I honestly feel I don't know a fast piece until I've actually slowed it down enough to look at it carefully. You know what I mean? I could go. There's my first section. I mean, it sounds okay. If you were to really listen carefully, there's quite a bit of rushing there. Not Russian, my friend. So only by examining something in minute detail do you do a correct mapping. So what you're probably telling me, Mark, is that you've read an article where somebody says you should play things at fast tempo and then put them together. Not my choice. And whoever wrote the article is probably very famous, and they've probably made a lot of money, and they probably convinced lots of people of this rather interesting approach. But you don't really know it until you know it. And therefore, I think you need to practice slowly. So that's my opinion. And we're not very good at practicing things slowly. If you have a good technique, and if you have lots of energy and creativity, and it's actually really hard to slow things down, isn't it? And I've said to students, can you just play that slowly? For example. Slowly. And then work on the breathing, how you're going to breathe, and what it will do when you breathe faster. So I think I've made my point on that, Mark. Slow practicing. You see, the one good thing about playing things fast is that you do have this facility, but it doesn't guarantee accuracy. It doesn't put on a CD and say, you know what, I can hear it. No, that's fantastic. No, you probably couldn't. You could hear an outline and you could hear speed. Speed on its own is not very exciting. I don't mean the speed, but I mean speed, tempo, fast tempo. Is not very exciting, is it? You know, you see a train go past. Oh, that was the 707 from London Euston. Now just passing the next village. It's not that interesting, you know? And maybe I'm getting older, because when I was young, some of the recordings I did, even from 1990, everything's about 20 points faster on the metronome. There's that concert I did at Coventry Salvation Army, where the video that Micah Parsons kindly put on to digital and sent me, it's almost as I'm always deliberately trying to lose the conductor in a fast tempo. It's like, come on. And sometimes I still have to do that, you know. My arms are so slow. Why you play so fast? It's my friend in Hamburg. No. Okay. So as you get older, you do understand things a bit more. It's called, as Jerry Young said, unfortunately, we get old too quick and wise too slow and smart too slow. We get old too quick and smart too slow. Yes. Anyway, you can just discuss that. Enterprise. Where are you from? Who is this? Robert. Hi, fantastic. Full footage from the Milan fashion show. Why do you want to see that, Micah? Is it for the playing or for the other aspects of the show? John Fricker. I'm sorry you're late. I waited. John, nice to see you, my friend. Guten Tag from Germany. Hi, Sebastian. Please more about buzzing. You're not allowed to do it now. You're not allowed to do it because if you have the virus, it doesn't go 80 centimeters, it goes 6 meters. It could wipe out an entire community. No, seriously. Actually, we had this discussion this week about the future of buzzing in schools because of the virus until we found a vaccine. And so free buzzing, do it in your own home, of course. But I don't do a lot of buzzing without the mouthpiece. For me, free buzzing is diagnostic. So if a student has a problem, let's say with high tones, which most students do. Now, unfortunately, without the mouthpiece there, the lips are prone to misbehave. And certainly the bottom lip is prone to, my chopstick again. It's like an old friend, isn't it? Is the bottom lip is prone to disappear. So I will only use it if I'm really worried the fact that the lips are not vibrating properly. And sometimes I use to check airflow. So if you lick your finger and go, if you can't feel any air on your finger at all, but your nose is starting to itch, your air is going up. And if you go, if you've got that kind of degree, also a problem. So that's why I would use buzzing. But buzzing with a mouthpiece, as you all know, because you've all seen my early classes. And this is the 4XR. I changed back to it a couple of days ago. I'm really enjoying it. And I don't want to talk about that. It's going to get emotional. You see, the only people that don't like buzzing, my friend in Russia, are people who don't really do it. And so when it comes to it, it's like, attaching yourself to the mains. It's a very uncomfortable experience. So work on getting calm. And let the buzz just come as an extension. See that space? That's a small carp's mouth. Yes, you did hear that here. It's not, which is one of the settings on my garden hose. What's it called? Shower. Where everything in a 3-meter radius gets a bit of a drenching. So this is a big tube. And I do recommend some buzzing every day. There are some days, actually, I don't do it. And I don't suddenly think, I didn't do it. But most days, I'll do a couple of minutes. And it'll feel good when I start to play. Everything kind of locks in. So what more do you... hold the mouthpiece lightly with 2 fingers. Try to keep as light a feeling as you can. Not... Don't clamp it. It's not a magnet. And your teeth are not metal. Because your lips just want to vibrate. If they could speak, they'd say, that's all we want to do. We just want to vibrate, but you don't let us do that. You make us control everything, That's not their job. It's that with a mouthpiece in front. Okay, and all your air support, all your air supply. is done with a control from here. And so buzzing is just a little focus on this tiny instrument. There's probably 1,000 questions, so I mustn't get behind. Micah, you're not going to see the Milan Fashion Show. A boy of your age, it's not good. So that's it. Buzzing. B flat. Hummel, hummel. What's going on? There's some private conversations going on here, but that's fine. We're a community. Joy Inglis. Hi, Joy. Thanks for your messages this week. I'm using an Ultra mouthpiece for you. What would the equivalent be of your new mouthpiece when and if it comes out? It would be the for you, not for you, or 4D. So the normal 4 now is about the size internally as the XR and the one that I showed you last week. And then we'll do a 4 and a 4D, a 3, which would be like a 3X, and a 3D. So the D just means deep, doesn't mean danger or, distraught. And a 5, probably just 1 5. So 2 3s, 2 4s, and a 5. So 4U is a great mouthpiece. Lots of players just love that. The only thing, because it's a little bit deeper than this, unless your chops are strong, unless your air is good, you may find you tire a little bit quicker. You may find your high notes don't quite have the resonance that you want. It's more a question of getting them. That's what a deep mouthpiece can do if you're not. Air's free. Take a lot. It's a buffet, not a crampon, not a buffet. You know what I'm saying? Take it and use it and feel good about it. I had a few interesting days this week, and breathing, as some of you know, helped me out of that. That and gin and tonic. Andrew Potter, what do you think the live music world would look at in the short, medium, long term? Gosh, yes. Will we have to carefully live in some time to a vaccine? That's the question of the moment, Andrew. I mean, as you'll know, planning your concerts with the band and the training of the young musicians that you're in charge of. I think things are moving quite quickly to find solutions as well as the vaccine. There's been now more research. Somebody told me off last week, when I mentioned about half a band in a rehearsal room. Just get over it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Too many of those people around, I'm afraid. And if you're listening, I still think the same a week later. I think we have to find a solution. They've done lots of tests to show how far aerosols fly around from you. And on average, the maximum is 80 centimeters. In a teaching environment, we've been discussing at the RNCM about the use of perspex screens, dividing a room with a screen, not a complete screen, but most of it, so there's no danger of anything, and disinfectant mats. The Norwegians are already back. The Germans are progressing well. So I think that, although I think it'll be a while before we have a normal situation. And let's be honest, a live concert by the Berlin Philharmonic in a packed hall, I couldn't put a date on that. I really couldn't. I think it could be March or April. It depends if, you read some reports, depends which papers you read. There could be a vaccine, sound like Trump, by Christmas. And other people say, oh, ridiculous, it's going to be 2 years. Everyone's an expert at the moment, depending on which rag you read or which article somebody puts in front of your nose on Facebook. So I think that we will have by Christmas concerts, and I think that there will be protections for musicians. There will be screens between players, and players will be more spread. And there will be protections from the audience coming in and out the hall. There'll be more air removal and distribution, maybe even enforced masks in concerts, and some distancing. And people who are very vulnerable are probably advised they shouldn't go to live concerts. And I think a year from now, there could be some sense of normality. But I really don't know. I read the same crap that you do in the papers. and depending which politician is spouting which and why they're spouting it. We'll have to wait and see, but I think we just need a positive spirit. And if there is a safe way to do it, let's not just say, no, just cancel everything forever. We're all doomed. I really hate that too. Too many of those people around, in my opinion, Andrew, and you are one of the most positive people I know. So I'm sure that you are looking for a good solution that's going to be safe, that's going to keep music alive. Because if we keep music suppressed for too long, we ain't going to like what it looks like in 18 months when most of the arts organizations have gone bust, orchestras have laid off all their musicians. People are just scared to go into any building and listen to music, you know? So let's find a middle way where we can be safe and as soon as possible enjoy what we enjoy doing. And if people don't like that advice, you can stick it somewhere or just write to me and I'll say the same thing. Robert. Hi, Robert. When is a good time to make a solo recording career-wise? About 9:30 a.m. Oh, I see. No. I misunderstood. I think when you've got something to say and when you think that your playing is at a point where you can launch a recording, which is going to be an important moment in your life, you know. My first CD was Rondo CD, which we recorded in 1989, and it kind of came out 18 months afterwards. Anyway, I won't go there now. But that was a really important one for me. You know, I was 28 years old before I made my first CD, and some players are recording their first CD at 22, 24, 26. Can it help start a solo career, or is a recording project something established soloist? No, look, I think increasingly you have to find cost-effective ways to make a CD because you're not going to have concert sales of CDs like we did when I was making CDs. You know, you could take a box and you sold 25 in a night. And if you went to Asia, you sold 50 or 75 in a night. I mean, Japan is still one of the places when concerts start, hopefully, where CD sales are good. So you have to see, you have to see CDs as publicity for you, like a calling card. It could be that you record it digitally and then you have like CD jackets or things with a nice picture on with sleeve information that you can give out and say, you can download the CD with this code. It saves a couple of $1,000s on pressing and really fancy artwork. Although I've always enjoyed making CDs that you're proud to give. You know, I've got a lot, about 80 CDs, and none of them look bad. Andrew Langford loves me. That really disturbed me for a moment. Hi, Andrew. We can talk about that. Yeah, I think it has to be, if it's your first CD, it's a bit like making a demo. Now, if you can have something you're really proud of and people say, this is amazing, and you say, well, actually, I'm going to charge $5 for it as well. Great. You get your money back quicker and people will, as Andrew would say, would love you. And that's important because you have to get yourself established. I think in my era, you know, I felt that making a solo CD at 28, and I just left Desford Band then. You know, I went all the way, I left Desford in 89, and within 6 months, I was making my first CD. Actually, there was no time while I was at Desford to record a solo CD. It was so full on. But I would say late 20s. I mean, it's hard to say, Robert, because if you've got a real wunderkind player who's, you know, winning competitions at the age of 18 or 19, then why not make a CD when you're 20, 21, 22, and then make another one? And what's interesting for me, maybe nobody else, is if I listen to recordings I made in 1990 and 93 and 98 and 2002, 2006, I can hear an evolution of my musical journey. And I know other euphonium players have said, you know, this sound here is different from this. Sure, you know. You really think you're going to sound the same 25 years later as you did before? Wouldn't life be dull, you know? I will just keep singing the same tune in the same way. So we evolve, and CDs are a nice way to map it, but of course, not so cost effective nowadays if you're going to do the traditional route, unless you marry money. No, unless you find someone who is going to help you with the costs. You know, crowdfunding is good. I did a bit of that in the last 2 CDs, and it really helped with those initial costs. So that's good. Edwin, hi. Yes, I am well, Edwin. I'm really quite good this week. If you missed the beginning, you know, news on mum and dad is very good. Would you share some secrets? I know that's why the secrets, Edwin. About creating videos. Oh, and do you use ClickTrack often? Oh, I really hate ClickTrack. And how do you invite people for duets? Well, there's lots of questions in one. Okay, so the thing that got me interested in multi this, that, and the other, of course, was the Euphonium Magic CDs, which I think we may have talked about last time. I fell in love with a CD. God, what was the name? Gone. I had a little. I fell in love with an LP that I heard with the. Anyway, yeah. So maybe I am a bit tired, but I fell in love with the idea of multi-tracking, getting the same articulations. First Brass was the recording. Yeah, it's come back now. Derek Watkins. And I spoke to Mike Moore and said, could we put this together? So we kind of did it together, but he was the genius at the computer. And if you listen to Ride of the Valkyries or you know, some of the other great works, you can hear contrabass euphonium. And for Mike Moore, that was so much fun. He could just say, would you like a bigger bottom? Oh, contrabass euphonium. So that's fascinating me. But what we're in now, of course, you know, since the lockdown started, everybody wants to make music, but you have to do it on your own, you know, with friends. So I'd never really worked with, I'd made videos, but I'd never done videos with other people. In fact, if you look way back on my YouTube channel, how many years? 12 years? I went on tour to Japan with the National Youth Brass Band of Scotland, and every day I made a video. I kind of surprised myself. I just, on my camera, just took videos all day, a little interview here and there. And then I had a really simple program on my phone. Gosh, it seemed quite advanced at the time. And I strung it all together and put music underneath. And, you know, by 10 o'clock at night, I would show the whole band the video of the day. So that was nice. And there's a lot of them there. There's one at the Hiroshima Peace Park. If you can find it, I mean, you'll have to go back to one of my earliest YouTube videos, but they're all still there. I forget which day it was, but there's visit to the Hiroshima Peace Park. The technology and the video clarity was not as good, but I love doing that. So it was always on my mind to do it. But of course, then when you have, let's say you're going to record a video with somebody else. Okay, so we need an idea, we need a piece of music, and the two people record separately. Now, people can only record with what they've got. You know, I've got a mobile phone. There's a handsome chap on my phone there. There he is. Oh, I use an iPhone 11 Pro, and I have a microphone, which is not with me at the moment, but together they can really create some good sounds. And normally the other person sends me their recording, and I find it quite easy then to play with them. If there's any little vagaries of tempo or whatever, or tuning, I adjust to that. I find that quite easy. And if it's a piano accompaniment, clearly I want to hear the piano accompaniment, especially if it has an introduction. And I will play it. I will get the video that has the piano on. I will separate the audio from video. I'll go to QuickTime, save as audio, throw it into GarageBand, add some reverb, make it sound nice, kill all the high frequencies, which are mobile phone-ish, get rid of that, and then listen to it and rehearse it and rehearse it. Okay, a little bit faster here. This slows down more than, okay. And once you've done that 4 or 5 times, you can then record your part. You then mix the sounds together, get some stereo panning, get the same reverb, so it sounds like you're kind of in the same room. Reunite them with the videos, go to a video program, which I use Filmora 9, and there were some more expensive ones available, but that was kind of idiot-proof, really. There he is. Put them together, decide how you want to look. You know, you can make the videos bigger, and you can use up the whole screen, and then check that everything lines up. When you reunite video with audio, you've got to make sure the valves are going down at the same time, otherwise it looks a bit rubbish. And keep playing until you really think this is as good as it's going to get. In the beginning, I didn't put any titles on, but it's not a difficult job. But then the really fun one, Edwin, which you may have seen, I did a couple with the European euphonium ensemble, 16 players and then 24 players. And the second one, I just lost my mind. I decided that we'd be inside the Royal Albert Hall. So I got 24 videos and a nice picture of the Albert Hall. And I realized I could then put the videos in boxes, get them at different angles. And once the sound was done, that was a treat. But honestly, from beginning to end, that was probably 50 or 60 hours work. Because the first part of the video was in a wooden concert hall, and I filmed a little skit with me as some forgetful Bristolian outside the front door. And I just decided that I did have a free week, and that was going to be rather spectacular. So actually, people invite me for duets normally. I remember I did write to Demondre Thurman. I said, would you like to do this? And he said, you know, Steve, hundreds of people asked me, and I was the first one that he said yes to. So that was lovely. But often people get in touch and say, can we do this? Can we do this? And to be honest, I'm a bit of at an overload situation now. I've got some major recording projects. I'm recording the 25 characteristic etudes. I'm not sure if I should mention it yet, just in case it doesn't happen. Oh, no, okay, I will. Greg Fritz, he wrote them years ago, and they're really hard. So I'm doing that at the moment, and some other rather lovely projects. But I mean, who knows how long we're going to be in this situation? Probably a few more. Mic settings, yeah, you have to get them right, because if you record something and your euphonium volume is peaking, and when you put it in GarageBand, you listen and it's distorted, and you turn it down and it's still distorted, just quieter, it's no good. There's nothing you can do with it. So, and if it's too soft, then you can't crank it up enough to keep the body and quality. If you're on a mobile phone, you're going to use the automatic setting. And then in which case, don't stand too close to the phone, because the microphone will freak out and just give you maximum volume all the time. But it is worth experimenting with. I've spoken to a few people this week that said they've never done it before. But if you have time, learn a new skill. It's really great fun, and you are creating something. I remember the first time I went down to Mike Moore's house in Mid Wales to do Euphonium Magic 1. I went there and I'd recorded a click track for each piece, but not click, 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 and after 3 minutes turn it off. I'd actually went through each score and marked in a tempo, and if there was a fermata or rallentando, so it would go. So that was done, and that took a week. Actually, I recorded it onto mini disc. That's how long ago it was. But with a metronome. And when I got to Mike Moore's house, each time we started a new piece, here's the original click, not a click track, that they use for a pop group number, but one that was. And if there was a count in, I just write +4. We cut that out. So I thought it out like a military operation. I put down the click, and then I started with a middle part and another middle part, and it had to be completely correct with the click, and it had to be in tune. Tuning is critical. You can't go back and say, you know what, those two parts sound really high, or I learned so much about playing in tune, doing multi-track. When I listen back to Euphonium Magics now, I'm unbelievably proud of that, and also I scratch my head. How did I do that entire album in 2 days? Good times, good memories. So Edwin, there's just a few thoughts there. I hope that's okay. Now then, I think we have a Japanese person. I can't see your name. I was playing tuba when I was a student. I play euphonium right now, but it is said that the sound is not euphonium-like. Probably the habit of that time has not been exhausted. Well, it's quite possible, my Japanese friend. I'm sure that's Japanese, not Chinese. I don't know. But if you're a tuba player and you've been used to going, maybe your tongue setting and your spatial stuff is so that you've never adapted to it. It sounds stupid, but you should probably play the trumpet for a few weeks just to go to the other end. No, that's a rather extreme suggestion, but you need a good teacher. I think if you're going from tuba to euphonium and you're not happy with your sound, I think if I was to sit in a room with you for half an hour, I could work out by listening and watching what you're doing and how you're moving air, where the mouthpiece is. It could be something else. It could be your mouthpiece is 70-30 in the wrong direction. It could be that you're overusing the tongue. It could be you're inflating the cheeks. I really don't know, but honestly, it would $100 to take an hour with the top pro would actually put you straight. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's a lot of money." Think of the number of hours you're going to waste doing it wrong. That's what I think. Bart, hello, Bart, my friend. Oh, I've just put you up. Oh gosh, too far. Sorry. Bart, there we are. What do you think of the development, position, and repertoire for the euphonium as an ensemble instrument? Do you mean outside of the normal ensembles, Bart, like a brass band and a wind orchestra? Euphonium as an, we've kind of missed the boat with the brass quintet. Tuba euphonium quartets are what they are. 3 in 1, 3 euphoniums, 1 tuba is great. But I used to really enjoy playing in a brass sextet. In fact, we went with Roger Webster and Andy Berryman. We went to the Liexa Brass Festival as a brass sextet. What were we called? Principals Brass Sextet. 2 euphoniums, 1 French horn, 1 euphonium, 1 trombone, 1 tuba. That's a good group. And in Scandinavia, in Finland particularly, it's got some really great repertoire. So that needs to be exploited more. At music conservatories. What I find generally, though, is that people playing the brass quintet have got their noses up their own, and they don't want to play with a euphonium player. Oh, run along, Sonny. I'm surely the band is waiting for you. There's still that snobbery between cylindrical people and lovely, kind-hearted, warm euphonium players. So there are some gaps there. But in terms of brass band, I don't think the euphonium is going to develop anymore. I mean, the music's going to go up and down between modern music and revert back to traditional music. And I think it's brilliant. I think some composers within the wind band totally get the euphonium because they write for brass band as well. And some don't. They really don't know what to do with the euphonium. They hear brass bands, but that's brass band. So, what does the euphonium do in the wind orchestra? And it's kind of a lame part between, tenor saxophones, trombones, low French horns, bassoons. And so the best works for wind orchestra for euphonium are people that get it, that they know. They should just say, look, everyone, this is how, well, composers know. So I don't think it's a secret anymore. But we need more ensemble stuff. I remember one summer I actually depped for the trombone player of Gomelan Brass, which is a wonderful brass quintet in northern Italy, and we played at the Musica Riva del Garda festival, and we did a really fantastic hour-and-a-half concert where I played the trombone part on euphonium. I loved that. That was great. There was a couple of glissandos that. Well, actually, they weren't bad. Now I think about it. So you need to find a brass quintet that are not happy with a trombone player. Suck them off and get in a brass quintet. Well, that's just, it's up to us to find the opportunities. The euphonium on its own doesn't develop anything. The euphonium doesn't write its own pieces. Harvey Phillips used to say very correctly about the tuba. No one's gonna just write for the tuba. We have to get people to write for the tuba, and he did, and the tuba has a lot of very powerful advocates in terms of literature. Just notice how red my head is. It's not safe. Ice, nurse, fetch me some ice. But let's all think about that. It's a very good question. Well done. Are there any plans to produce a biography or a practice book? Micah? Not at the moment, no. I should have written 2 during this lockdown, but I actually been really busy. A biography, you need to talk to Robert Pendergast, who's on this chat, because he did his doctoral dissertation on the life and times of Stephen Mead, and it's a massive book. It's available online. Robert, if you're still here and it is available online, could you post a link to where people can read my biography that you wrote for me? I mean, I know it was when was that, 15 years ago, 20 years ago now. So there's bits to add on, you know. And by the way, he's still alive. It's the addenda. Practice book. I will do a practice book. I'll write it now. Go away. Number 1, practice. Number 2, practice well. Number 3, keep practicing. 4, why have you stopped practicing? 6, don't ever stop practicing. You know, that's it. But we'll talk about more about that next week on our 90-minute chat. My teacher always tells me to keep the mouth open for a great sound. If I go for high notes, I try to say, I try to say I. E. Is it I or E? So the mouth closes automatically. How can I keep it open? Keep the mouth open for a great sound. Well, that's a bit dodgy. It's not like we're singing, you know, oh, keep singing, keep your mouth open. It has to be more precise. And I know you've probably not watched any of my teaching videos before, but we talk about a 1-finger space. Which I try to maintain all the time, despite tongue position that fluctuates up and down and varying air use. So perhaps that's what you mean, keep the mouth open all the time. It's a space between the teeth. If you go higher notes and you go the mouth, so the mouth closes automatically. Well, you're in control of it, you know? If I say to my brain, poke my tongue out, it happened. I didn't want it to, but you know, that was strange. But if you can be aware of that space. Now, okay, so now we're playing and you say things close automatically. Well, of course, if you're going to go, as I did with those stretches yesterday, if you're going to do that kind of thing, there is a danger that you're going to go because you have an inherent fear of high notes and the body's going to go. So you can stop that, but not if you suddenly try and do, you know, 2 crazy octaves. I'm thinking oo and then E, but I'm thinking that with one shape. So just try this. Okay, oo and E. And don't change anything here. And if you are playing well, the air is going to get incredibly free, and you're going to find that things are now starting to support because the air is free and it's going fast. The body's saying, okay, we can help. That's what should be happening. So slow arpeggios. And be aware. You can control it. That does not close automatically. So I'll be 255. That's it. Little by little, 1-finger space. Leave it there for a while. Breathe in and out. Take the finger away. Replicate the space. Play something simple. Be aware of that spatial thing, because that also affects very much what's happening inside there. You know, small here, small internally. Big here. But the idea of open, I'm really worried that that's not going to help with your sound, with your focus of your sound, your ability to control flexibility. Hi, Robin. Hi. Mark Hensler, I love your classical euphonium book. Yeah, that is fun. There's no plans. I mean, I've lost contact really with the De Haska people because I went to the Netherlands a few times to record those books, and you know, and they're all 20 years old now, you know, and it was really fun. I did 6 books in a week. I think I may have told you a few weeks ago. That's when I actually hurt my lip in a dry studio with closed headphones. Can't feel a thing. Is this normal? Any plans of volume 2? So not at the moment, but I've got lots of ideas circulating in my head. Opera arias. Well, the bel canto book is kind of operatic style things. Have you seen the bel canto book? That's really nice, and it's got piano accompaniments. And there are a few other books available that are out there that are similar. But let me think about that, Mark. I've got a 3-hour car journey, so I will contemplate this, and I'll let you know. Robin, hi, 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 hi. That wasn't very funny. Graham Test. Right, let's move on to more sensible things. Micah, I wanted to ask about about how your teaching style has developed over the years and how have you developed as an educator. That's a 2-hour question there, Micah. It has evolved because I learned by my own experiences as a performer and then tried to incorporate that, let's loosely call it wisdom, to students I work with. I also have now, every student I teach adds to my database of students I have taught, problems I have helped them solve, interesting combinations of people with not much confidence, but with some beautiful natural ability, people with huge ebullience and stage presence, but inability to control things, people who play great but get nervous at the big moments, people who don't stretch themselves, people who don't believe in their own ability, and of course there's a physical outlet for all those situations. So I've just got wiser, Mike. I guess I sometimes think it's a bit euphonium teacher, and especially a teacher. You become a bit like a family GP. You get so experienced at dealing with people that somebody walks in the room. Okay, tell me what's the problem. And after 2 minutes, you can just write a prescription. Look, take this twice a day. Rub the cream here. Don't put it in your eyes. Don't do this if it hurts. And a week later, the priest said, "It's amazing. It's really. How did he know?" Because he's a GP and he's seen 20,000 people. So it's a bit like that. But I don't feel I ever stop learning. I love watching some online classes nowadays. And even if I just pick up one sentence, something says, "Keep that lock." And just podcasts I've heard, and you think that's clever. I hadn't thought of it that way around. So you never stop learning as a teacher. You never think you've arrived either. Boy, the day you say as a performer, "Oh, I think I'm good enough now," that's the end, mate. It's the end. Put it away. Go in the garden. Fire up the lawnmower. A lot of birds in the garden today. I put tons of new food. I spent 60 quid on Amazon on bird food. And every bird in the village now is partying in my garden every day. Free food at number 10. Good though. Giving back. So, Micah, I think you also tend to ask questions that you know the answers to, Micah, which is lovely. But that's, how has it developed over the years? I started, I think, because I started teaching early. I became the brass teacher at Bristol Grammar School when I was 18. I'd arrived at university and they heard that I was there. They'd just see me on Young Musician of the Year, and I started teaching. And ironically, the first private lesson like that I taught, there were 2 beginner French horn players. I didn't even know the fingering for the French horn. I discovered the E wasn't 1 and 2, it was 1. It was like, I learned something from you guys today. And exactly where does the right hand go? I've never taught French horn since. Funny that. I played your ultra on the baritone. Didn't work for me. Room was too small or narrow. Right. Good. How you cope with dealing with extended schedules? I don't at the moment, but normally I have a really busy schedule, which is a really great mixture of working with students at RNCM. Online teaching really wasn't a thing, occasionally. But traveling and practicing and being my own travel agent, writing contracts, writing articles, working for Besson, running my shop, reordering for the shop, posting for the shop, writing to customers of the shop, working for Dennis Wick, working on designs, answering questions, writing articles for magazines. Every week was a healthy mixture of all that. And I guess it was just the buzz of the fact that I had so many things to do means you find a way to deal with it. Either that, you just go and sit in the garden, which is what I did last week. You find a way, and I've always been blessed with energy. And if I go a few nights with only 3 or 4 hours sleep, I can cope with that. And then I have to sleep 10 hours, and then I'm okay again for a few weeks. So fast rechargeable batteries help, actually. Hmm. How do you find your balance and cope with it when you're not at your best? I always give them my best. So some days it's hard and some days it's easy. But you don't say, well, you know what? I'm not good today. Look, this lesson's going to be crap. Just play it. I'm not really listening. Never. What's the point? I mean, don't. I'd rather cancel a lesson than give a bad lesson, to be honest, if I'm not feeling well. I don't do that very often. So B flat. North Germany is, so you're now, you told me you don't like the ultra baritone mouthpiece. You're now telling me North Germany is far behind the South. What's your point? Micah, look, Micah, from now on, it's £10 a question. Here's my PayPal account. No, just kidding. I'm rather curious to know how Besson artists, I see what you're getting at. How do I become a Besson artist? How are they picked to represent a certain company? Every company has their own way of doing it. Some companies just say, would you like some money? Do you need money? Would you like to play our second-class instrument? Here's a check for £6,000. They go, thank you very much. What a wonderful instrument. Well, it's the easiest thing I ever played. Or people who love their instrument, who excel at playing their instrument and do well in a band or get a position or win a competition or develop a fine reputation for being a great player and a trustworthy person. Word gets out, somebody says this person could be suitable for a Besson artist, and usually a team discuss that. And if that's going to be, we don't want to just put a name on a website and there they are. We want to use that person for masterclasses, to teach, to represent the instrument, maybe go to a festival. So Besson don't just give these things out like confetti. Neither do we just, wave a checkbook and say, please play our instrument. We just don't do that. And that's why Besson is a brand, and it's been around for a very long time and will be around for a long time, because I genuinely believe the people who represent the company are thoroughbred players in good positions that play the instrument because they want to. I remember when I used to, in the early days when I worked for Boozy and Hawkes Musical Instruments, I used to get on very well with Dave Humphreys, who was the managing director. Dave Humphreys, great guy. I love the guy. He was different, and he would say, "Oh, just had to kick those guys out." Had a meeting before me, and I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Oh, it's a bloody brass quintet come in and said if Boozies don't pay them, they're going to play Yamaha." Told them to play Yamaha. I told them to, and that was lovely. You've got to want to play the instrument, and we'll commit to you if you commit to us, kind of thing. So that was very funny. So, Micah, you're gonna have to be patient, my friend, because I sense the meaning of your question. One day, who knows, you could be a Besson artist, and nothing will make me happier. But you still got to do a lot of years of playing at a really high level and impress the hell out of people, and keep doing what you're doing, buddy. Really, keep doing what you're doing. Emily, have you ever arrived really late to a performance and had to go straight on stage without a warm-up or rehearsal? Yes. Actually, I was at university and we were doing Belshazzar's Feast and I was playing trombone. And for some reason, I just left the house late. I got stuck in traffic. I got to the Colston Hall in Bristol, I think 6 minutes before the concert started. Nowhere to park at the Colston Hall. So I just left it on the pavement outside. I didn't want to be late. I hate being late for anything. I like to be early. So it was a little Morris Minor. I just left the car and ran inside with my trombone just as people were going on stage. It was trombone. It was easy. Don't need to warm up. Just kidding. Just made it. And when I came out afterwards, the car had gone. It had been towed by the police to a pound a long way away, and so I went for a drink. And about 12:30, no, it was the next day, I got the car back and I had to pay about 150 quid. So no, I have a fear of being late, I have to say. Um, I have a, I think I talked before about mouthpiece whistling, which was a technique I learned in Italy because, especially in the south of Italy, everything is late. So they say the concert starts at 9 o'clock. We'll pick you up at 8:20, 8:30. When you, I said, look, pick me up at 8:15. I'd like to be there early, you know. So at 8:45, car turns up. Scusi, maestro, maestro, problemi. Molto traffico. Okay, come on, let's, you know. So you get to the hall like 2 minutes to 9, and there's no backstage room. It's just a hall full of people who applaud as soon as you enter the back room. Ah, bravo, maestro! With your case there, and you get on stage, and it all goes quiet. It's just like, really? And so that happened to me once, and the second time it happened, I was ready. So I played a bit in the hotel as well. So I developed this mouthpiece whistling technique where you don't whistle in the mouthpiece, you go, you get your mouth really round and really relaxed. And I found if I did that during the car journey, there's a guy going, ah, scusi maestro, no problema, poco tardi. Well, you know, like we can wait. You can't because everybody starts clapping when you walk in. So I mouthpiece whistled for 10 minutes and I got on stage. I don't know many concertos that start like that, but imagine. And that was, yeah, I was, I was ready. So no, I haven't, and I'm not a late person. You know, if I start teaching at 9 o'clock in Manchester, I'll get there at 7:20 because I don't want to get stuck in traffic. I'd rather play for an hour and have a cup of coffee. No, I'm an anti-late person, and I really don't like lateness at all, Emily. Sometimes it's difficult, you know, circumstances beyond control, but Andrew's already on it. I knew you would be. Ideas up your sleeve, positive, seize the moment. Fantastic. Absolutely. Now then, Graham Youth. I'm wondering if the tip of the tongue is the same place as the vowel sounds change. It really is, actually, at least for me, Graham. I remember you asked good questions. There should be some kind of team point system for good questions. So, if you think of the tonguing action, for me, it's the joining point between the top teeth and the skin. You know, I could get a black pen and mark it with a cross, but you wouldn't see it. And I think to keep it simple, so that the tonguing action always sounds like the tonguing action, the tip shouldn't move. You imagine. I feel weird. Well, it certainly look weird. I can see myself in the screen. So no, same place where the top teeth meets the gums. For me, anyway, that's what I would do. Awesome. Thanks for the advice, Robert. No problem. What do you think about Derek Kane compared to David Childs? Are we doing compare? Derek Kane is a legend in the Salvation Army. He's a legend of Euphonium. David Childs is already a legend. You know, he's achieved so much, plays absolutely great. He's got a great teaching job now in America. I think any kind of comparison would actually not be. You know, people like to do that. Who do I prefer? You know, and all that stuff. No, I'm not going to do that one. I think they're both brilliant. They're different ages, of course. Derek, I believe, is older than me, so he's probably around the big 60, and David Childs is a different generation. We can only speculate how good David Childs will be at 60. It's interesting, isn't it? Because to keep that dedication that Derek Kane had with the International Staff Band, was it 42 years? That's extraordinary. The patience, the consistency, just that routine to keep yourself in top condition in a band is extraordinary. I wouldn't. I'm not going to compare. I'm going to say that both of those artists are absolutely outstanding and contributing so much to the development of the euphonium. But thanks for the question, Laureate Sanga. Andrew. Stephen, Carol would like to know if there's any more fun duets planned with Misa. Love is an open door. Actually, we do have a lovely duet. You remember Liz Lane may be listening, but she's done a lovely duet arrangement of Robin Robin that I did on the UFO CD. Misa has lots of projects planned. She's just done an amazing Phantom of the Opera quartet version. If you haven't seen that yet, Misa Mead, Phantom of the Opera on YouTube. Great. She did the arrangement herself. But Love is an Open Door was really funny, and it was her idea. And I had to like pop, jump around like an 80s teenager. But it's fine, just for a while. Do you find difference, Graham, playing on a gold or silver mouthpiece rim? Absolutely, I do. In fact, I don't have any silver ones here in the shop, obviously. Golder from Golder. I've never said that before. Gold mouthpieces have a softer feeling for me, which my lips are now used to. And a blindfold test, I could feel it. People say, do they play any different? No, only if you play them differently. But the feeling, for me, gold is very smooth, and silver's okay, but I find sometimes it feels a bit cold. Some people love them, I think it's just a preference thing. So I've always played on gold. I don't think I've tested silver mouthpieces when they've only had silver available. But I'm a golden boy, Graham. My mute, my instrument, my teeth. No, kidding. Does it mean that control incomplete because the mouth is too wide while playing? Yes, absolutely. If your mouth is too wide, you cannot control the air that's coming. It's incontrollable. So you definitely, I don't know your name, I'm sorry. You need to focus that space between your teeth. That's the other way, of course, is like bigger is better. Bigger mouthpiece, bigger space, big sound, big problems. Yeah, that's it. You get my advice on that one. Euphonium quartets, great fun. Yeah, I mean, look, they thrive a lot, of course, where you get lots of euphonium players together, like music college and conservatories. Brass bands, of course, you could have two baritones and two euphoniums. That's an ensemble that's not exploited enough. Normally, though, when you suggest to a baritone player, should we play some quartet music, you just hear the door slam shut and the car driving off, which is a shame. Robert, yes, we should update it, because if I do a biography, I'm just going to nick that and just tart it up a bit. No, that would be unfair. I'll get someone to ghostwrite it when I've had a bottle of whiskey. Be great to see an updated version. David Abrahams, looking at the stretches, is there merit in starting at the top and stretching down? Not really, David. And I'll tell you for why. Because look, you just found me in a moment yesterday where I had the video camera near me, didn't even put the microphone on properly, and I was just feeling really good, and I just put it on, and just one of those mornings, the wind was blowing outside and the sun was shining. I just felt good. So starting on a high note, I wouldn't see any benefit, because naturally, whether we like it or not, you're going to start with a really tiny space. The good news about starting on a low note is that you can keep that space the same. So I understand why you asked that. I would always start on the low tone, and by all means try it, but I wouldn't really want to go Only to prove to myself that I could do it. I don't feel it's got any benefit at all. You know, it just, it's the sort of thing that people do backstage before a contest, and people go, "Oh, he's good. He's showing off, and he's damaging his lip." So, David, no, don't start on the higher note, please. I beg you. Nick, hi Nick. Haven't heard from you for a long time. Thoughts on intonation on E flat, blah, 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 without a trigger? They always sit sharp. Yeah, they do on most euphoniums. And some euphoniums, like my beautiful baby, now it's because of the design we talked about last week. You weren't here. I could trigger those, but it would be slightly over fussy when I don't need to. People always talk about the old round stamp sovereigns. They kind of go all misty-eyed. Oh, I find a round stamp sovereign. 38 cents sharp on those notes, between 30 and 38 cents sharp, which would make a dog howl normally. It's got a round stamp, so it must be fine. So triggers help. Some models of euphoniums, different brands, have tried to make that note fine. There were. Let's think if I can say, for example, the Wilson euphonium, I believe, is more in tune on those notes. But then they've got other notes lower down, which are sharp, and they've got a couple of flat notes. So everything that you do with the instrument design is a trade-off between sound quality, the response, and the tuning. The flexibility is kind of in the metal, you know what I mean? How heavy you want the instrument to be. But in terms of the design of the lead pipe, it's a trade-off between getting the right sound and then how even is the intonation. I've seen some tuning charts that people do. Funny, the instruments that they play and get paid to play seem to come out rather well in those charts. No, I mean, most of the professional models are all controllable, and the trigger really helps, so long as you've got no flat notes. If you've got flat notes, unless you've got a trigger that goes in and out, you're always going to be flat on those notes. And that's why I'm really happy. This is not a Besson advert, but this gold lacquered euphonium by Besson doesn't really need a trigger, but I'm glad I have one. Sometimes when you're really pumping some volume, you can just stop the pitch riding up a little bit. So it's a good question. Traditionally, yes, they've always been out of tune, and different manufacturers, I say, have traded off fixing those notes to have other notes that don't sound very good. And some instruments that come from far away, it seems like they never test them. They just sound out of tune. Jonah, hi, Mr. Mead. What music have you been listening to lately? It depends what I'm doing. I tell you I've been listening to Chopin nocturnes this week because I found them very calming. If you don't know Chopin nocturnes, there's lots of them, at least 12, 15. Get some good headphones. I got the new Sony headphones. They arrived this week. I went for a walk, noise cancelling, Chopin nocturnes. I tell you, it's like the best massage you've ever had for your brain and your body. I've been listening to Coldplay. I never listened to Coldplay. You mentioned Coldplay to some people. They go, "Oh, for God's sake, listen!" But I hadn't heard it before, and I really like it. I've been listening to Mahler symphonies this week. I've been listening to Sampalafian, Traveling Light. I've listened to that at least 5 times. I love Sampalafian, and every time I hear him play, I remember the good times that I had with him, the fun times, the creativity in the guy, his humor. And what I loved on the Traveling Light is not the invention so much and the range, it's just the way he can make a tuba sing at P, 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 P. Oh my God. If you don't know Traveling Light, Sampalafian, Frank Vignola on the guitar and banjo, find it. It's on Spotify. Oh my God, it'll brighten your day. Get it on repeat or download it. Traveling Light, Sam Palafian. Rest in peace, Sam. I love you, man. Oh, okay. So Jonah, that's it. Yes, a real cross section because my mood has been up and down with all sorts of family things. I needed things to calm me, things to spur my imagination, and things just to make me chill out. All of those things, and I found the music to do it. Any good euphoniums in India? None that I found yet. Ananda Krishnan, nice to see you again. No, the Besson factory used to be in India, and they had some good ones, but unfortunately, they've closed down, and they just there was just too many issues, I think, to get them to the quality they wanted. Can you talk about how I can have good intonation on Besson instruments? A to E flat. What instrument do you have, Nunziata? Because that's quite a potentially weird question. How can you have good intonation? Well, good intonation starts in your head. It starts with you tuning up to whoever you're playing with. You may need to have one or two alternate fingers at your disposal, and you need to listen a lot, and you need to practice with a tuning machine. But let me know what model instrument you have, and maybe I can help you more specifically. Thank you, Micah. No more questions. Thoughts on reducing excessive mouthpiece pressure? Yes, just do it. But how do you do it? Because it's like an automatic thing. I think you have to be aware of it. I've done exercises in the past where I've laid an instrument on the table, upside down with a lead pipe here, and just play open tones and don't touch the instrument. If you use too much pressure, the instrument moves away. I used to do that quite a lot. But I honestly think that if you work on really great airflow, you reduce this kind of clamping. This is a sign that the lips are being asked to do more than just vibrate. So, Drew, the short answer is have better breath control and take control of your breathing. Also, be aware when you're holding your instrument, because it's not your head that presses onto the mouthpiece, it's your arms pull the instrument to you. So if you can keep your arms feeling good and relaxed, that should do the job. So two things: more free air, that'll free up that so the lips can just vibrate, and be aware of any tension in your arms, which is, without you realizing, encouraging the instrument to do that. Yes. Emily, you love the story about the Morris Minor. Yes, it's true. No, never been late. I've had people that tried to make me late, but I've always made it in the end. Amazing, yeah, really. You purchase the Mead Springs Light. It doesn't seat properly. You have a John Packer 7340. Oh, my deepest sympathies. And it should fit. Well, it's only because they have this little thing inside, like some Yamaha euphoniums, that don't seat properly. You can actually open it a little bit. The other suggestion is to find some other top caps that fit, that don't have this rather unique internal fitting, which means you can't put a decent set of springs. It's too wide. Yes, I see. Well, maybe you can just adjust a little bit. I mean, the Mead Springs Light, well, all the Mead Springs go slightly thinner at the end than they are in the middle. So if it's too wide, my goodness. Mr. Rainbow Cat, that's a lovely name. No, don't buy the non-comp. Oh, hang on. Yes, you could try the non-compensating springs, but is the 374T, that's a compensating euphonium. That's going to need a bigger spring, I would think. Message me later on, Mr. Rainbow Cat, and I will see. There's no problem, of course, with the Besson model. All the Mead springs fit fine in there. And the dampers you don't really need. If you've got Mead springs, you don't need dampers, because dampers were there before we had springs that had this polyurethane covering on them. It's not a coating, it's a covering. Big difference. Coating is like a dip, you know. It's not a dip. It's threading them on by hand, joined together with heat. Take a look very closely. So write to me, and I'll see if I can find a solution to your problem. Okay. gosh, two euphoniums and two tubas is a favorite combination, Sebastian. It's great. I enjoyed the BTQ recordings. Could you tell us a bit about your time with this ensemble? Actually, it's a good question, which hasn't come up, how the British Tuba Quartet started. In 1989, we received a visit to the UK by, oh my God, Tennessee. Oh dear. I've had another brain fart for a moment. Anyway, we had lots of music for low brass ensemble that we didn't use during a little low brass feature that we had. And I had all this music at home, and I thought, well, I need to try it out because I'll put it in the cupboard, but I need to hear it. So I called Stuart Burney and Michael Howard and gosh, long time ago. My brain is not the best today. Anyway, we played through tuba quartets, and after about half an hour, we realized that we absolutely, and Ken Ferguson, E flat tuba, we really loved these, and we wanted to meet again. So we had a cup of coffee after about an hour, and they said, "Well, we have to make a quartet. What are we going to call ourselves?" And I just said, "What, British Tuba Quartet?" And everybody laughed. And by the end of the rehearsal, we were the British Tuba Quartet. We got a note to saying, "Are you sure you have permission to use the word British?" And we said, "No, but we still are the British Tuba Quartet." And 2 months later, we had our first gig, which was at the Royal Albert Hall. Boozy and Hawkes Band Festivals called me and said, "Steve, you've got a new group. It's good, is it?" And I said, "Yeah, it's really fun, really good." I sent them like a demo. "Would you play in the Royal Albert Hall, the 15-minute, 20-minute slot before the results are announced?" "Yes, yes, we will." And we need a show, something funny. So I said, "Okay." So I called the guys. "We've got a gig." "Oh, where is it?" Thinking it might be Nuneaton Town Hall. And it's the Royal Albert Hall in London. And yeah, one of the tracks that we did, the Pop Suite, made it onto the album from the gala concert or the weekend thing. And so we practiced marching up and down the drive. We did a marching routine, so we marched up and down the drive. Neighbours thought it was completely mad. That was the beginning of the British Tuba Quartet. And I think about 3 months later, we recorded our first CD in at the Deep End, and we went to Bath hot Roman baths to take some pictures in at the Deep End. Ha ha ha! First CD, and there we were standing by the Deep End. It was very simple then. We need a deep end. Well, let's go to Bath, to the Roman baths, and that's the cover. And that's how it started. And it was really, really a good 10 years. 6 CDs, euphonic sounds, elite syncopations, fireworks, march to the scaffold. Yeah, great times. Philip Spark, Mike Moore were doing the production. And we went to Norway a couple of times, Switzerland a couple of times, Japan. And yeah, it was fun. I learned. I mean, this was after my Desford days. So we started in '90, and we just about finished around the year 2000. And what a great time that was. I often say, if I had my years again, I'd do everything in the same order. I'd go to Bristol University, Bath College of Higher Education. I'd happily do those 6 years at DeFreros High School all over again, although high school teaching has changed, so probably not, but you know what I mean. And the British Tuba Quartet, Desford, all of that was just beautiful. And then, like a flower, I found myself lucky enough to do other things than professionally on my own. So that was really. Thank you very much for the question, Sebastian. I hope do you have the BT? Could you have all of them? It's a shame that they're not all on Spotify. They should be. But Stan Kitchen, God rest his soul, when he was at Polyphonic, could not agree to get anything put digitally onto the internet. Well, we're having some meetings about that. We're going to talk about that soon, and he never did. And now that the recordings are the property of World of Brass, they may be there, but I don't think we'll see them widely available because they're still obviously we're trying to make cash out of them. But they should be on Spotify. I'm going to work at getting those available somehow. 6 British Tuba Quartet CDs, because they really are. I listen back now and I think I was very proud to do that. We had some really great gigs. In the Albert Hall, first gig was the best one. You know, where's our first gig? Not many groups have their first gig at the Albert Hall. I think that could be a record. Sarah would love to play in a quartet. Well, Sarah, do it. Just do it. Stanislav Golovinov, thank you. I've now found your real name rather than Rainbow Cat is back. I had to screw the bottom cap on and push the damper from the top to the bottom using a pencil without it flipping. Good on you. Well done. Sounds like a hobby. Nathan, you are late. Could you write out 200 times, I must not be late for Steve's Q&A? Send it to me by email. Micah, you promised no more questions, Micah. When I got a Best in Prestige, it was like the whole world opened up. What a refreshing experience. I still remember to this day. Question mark? It's not a question. It's a statement. I remember my first Best in Sovereign when I got it in 1978. It was the happiest day of my life until I dropped it 2 days later. Nice to see you, Nathan. Good. Nick, thanks, Steve. First time tuning in live. Hey, cool. Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, I've enjoyed this. I can't say I've enjoyed this pandemic. I've enjoyed finding some other things to do during this flipping awful pandemic, is what I mean to say. But and doing these and doing the online stuff. Next Saturday, I think it's going to be 2 p.m. 2 p.m. till 3:30, and you'll be able to either listen live with your instrument and have a go, or you'll be able to tune in afterwards. Put that in your diary. I'll start putting it out there probably from Monday. Any problems, Ian? Any problems with takata rather than tataka? No, no problem at all. You choose which you want. You can see which one I prefer. Normally we gravitate towards one, and there's no problem so long as it's that's the only problem with the tataka. It becomes a bit William Tellish if you're not careful. Cameron, any thoughts on hand guards? Hand guards. Do you mean the thing that you use to support your left hand? Is that a hand guard? That's what we're talking about. I think a lot of people like them. I hate the feeling of my hand being trapped in anything. It's like, don't touch my hands. But some people love them because it gives a bit more support. Cameron, is that what you mean? Those ones that clip around the main the back branch, you put your hand in, helps to support. I think if they help you, you know, especially if you spend a lot of time standing up to play, my goodness, I'd hate to be a military musician and have to stand there for 2 hours doing nothing. And the Andrew Porter comes along and says, "What are you looking at, young man? Stand up straight." I'm kind of going off the point slightly with a few of these. Sorry. So Ian Walker, choose, no problem. Thomas Dalton, currently learning the Horowitz. It's Horowitz with a V, not a W. Or Horowitz was the pianist, but maybe he wrote Euphonium Concerto. Was going to perform with the chamber orchestra, but the lockdown stopped. That's a shame. That's a shame. I find the quick runs in the first movement too hard. Any tips? Yes, I made a whole video on this, Thomas. And so you obviously haven't been paying attention. So you can do 200 lines also on I must pay more attention to Steve's videos before asking a question. So go back on my YouTube and just type in Stephen Mead Horowitz tutorial. And there are some tips there. And I know the one you mean. So the short tip is to play it slowly. Play it with a dotted rhythm. And once you've done dotted, reverse dotted, normally it's okay, but it's got to be correct. It's no good going. That means it's not fixed. And these are not very predictable scales, so don't, play A natural and it should be A flat, and E natural and it should be E flat. So learn them slowly, just as we talked about with Mark Stevens' question earlier on. Playing them fast will not actually fix the problem. It'll just get them fast. So good luck with that, and check out the tutorial. There's lots of tips on Horowitz's first movement. I really need to get on to the other two movements and do. Nathan, how can I practice? Well. Nathan, how can I practice? Well. And don't keep repeating yourself. Relax, Stephen. We'll get to your question soon. Very good. Calm down, young man. Laura Ratsanga is back. Which one is better, Thomann Euphonium or John Packer Euphonium? Well, that's a good question. They are both good, reasonably priced student euphoniums. Sometimes you can only get hold of one, depending on where you are, in which case both of those, if that's your price bracket and what you want, are okay. So I'm not going to choose, because I would need both instruments in this room for a couple of hours. Then I could say, if I was spending the money, I would buy this one. But I play them both at different times, but not in the same situation. So, Mr. Sanga, you tell me what you think. Right? I love the Thomann company. A lot of people criticize them, but they're an unbelievable company, and I bought quite a few things from them in the past. Their service is unbelievable. I hear good things about John Packer service also. The euphoniums, for me, are big. I always find I get some pains in my left hand because the reach between the third valve and the fourth valve is big. Ergonomically, I'm not a big fan of them, but they have a nice big sound. They're probably all made in a similar place in China, but probably not the same, but similar. Dirk Reynolds, are there specific exercises you give to your students to enable really secure high notes? Yeah, it's the old high note question again. For me, I don't practice high notes. I can play high notes. But I don't practice them. I recorded that silly video the other day just because I was feeling exuberant. Like a whale jumps out of the water. Doesn't need to, but it's one of those. Firstly, you need to play well. You need to have a good embouchure. You need to use air well. You need to understand the movement of the tongue. You need good pedal tones. And then when you go higher, and you can play pedal notes for an hour and not tie your lip. You can make your lip tired 2 minutes playing a high tone wrong. So if there is an exercise, Dirk, and I think I may have mentioned this before, there's a little exercise I use, because I don't just want high notes to squeak out. There's no point. People say, listen, I can play super, triple D. Like they're looking for you to get some kind of applause or a banana or something. No, that's not a proper note. You could never use that. Ken Ferguson was your BTQ. Yes, I remembered his name eventually. Good old Ken. And Richard Sandland was the second one. So we had two E-flat tuba players. Ken did until about 1997, and then the last 3 years was Richard Sandland, who I believe doesn't play the tuba anymore, but he was great fun. Very knowledgeable, very skilled guy. So, I have a little exercise which starts on treble clef low C. You play quietly and calmly until you get to G, which is our first stopping point. And I would play that note then, encourage the student to do it until it vibrates, resonant. No, not a good idea next to this microphone, because you're going to go, stop it. And then you add a semitone each time. So these semitones might be added at 1 week intervals, you know, just get the high note, not so you can just get it, but so it sounds really, really wonderful. And then working up the high F as high as you want to go. F, G, no reason to go above super G really, unless you're just showing off, which I was doing yesterday. Could you give me exercises I should play? Can you give me exercises I should play in the Arbon and the brass gym book? What a question, euphonium player. It's like, which one should I leave out? None of them. But you need to plan a routine that you didn't see. You guys don't read. You don't listen to my early videos. So this is why I'm backtracking. You need a routine that's going to cover all the disciplines over a 2 or 3 day period. Long tones, fingers, single tone, double tone, lip flexibilities, pedal tones, wider flexibilities, and then combination, tongue and fingers together. You need, and each section in this book has those. You could look at them. And some of the ones with all the trills, you know, okay, this is a little bit cornetty. There's pages and pages of trills. You know, we've probably got 5 in the whole of the euphonium repertoire. Tongue and fingers together. Appoggiaturas, but essentially it's melodic. That some are more important than others. Okay, don't just play the easy ones. And I like singing them as well because my lip doesn't get tired. And some of these flexibilities are quite hard. They go on page of so this is where, for me, some of the brass gym stuff is a little bit better. It's got some more ranged and some low stuff. So, you know, it's a bit like you saying to me, which parts of the Old Testament Bible should I read? Well, you can't say, well, that whole section's really crap, you know. You can't say that about either the Old or the New Testament or the Arbon, but some of it is a bit more important than others. And if it fits in with your practice routine, then take what you need. You know, it's a bit like a supermarket. Everything you need is in there, but you don't need everything at once. Same with the brass gym. The brass gym has nice, almost kind of progressive things, and you don't have to work through to page 15 and say, oh, okay, that's today done. You know, do the first 2 pages, jump to page 10, find a flexibility thing you're after. Some lip bending, which of course you don't find in Arbon, you know, way too radical for Arbon. Lip bending, schwarma, so forth. So use both of them because they're both very good books. And I would also try to get other books. You know, Mises Technicals is a very good book that will challenge you until the day that you stop breathing. So be open, and Visuti books are great. And then you've got lots of the older style books, the Charles Collins, Clark exercises. They don't date, you know, that kind of technique is what we need. You know, it's like saying an athlete saying, I find running very old fashioned. You know, you have to run, but our books can help you run faster, you know. So euphonium player, again, what a good name. You should copyright that. They call you Youth at school. In Ferguson, you have 5 BTQ recordings. What oil do you use on the pistons? Very good question. Internal cleaning of the instrument to eliminate the smell. My instrument doesn't smell. Bogdan. The smell. I use a couple of different oils. It looks bigger if I hold it up. Toman oil. I use light Toman oil. I love it because you get little 10 milligram bottles. So you get 3 in a pack. I keep one in my case, one in my briefcase, one in my instrument case, so I never can't find it. For the tuning slide, I use what is basic. Oh, it's nearly all gone. But this white creams like Con Super Slick for the tuning slide. Don't use valve oil on the tuning slide. Don't use something you found in the garage, which your dad said would be okay. Mm-hmm. Or grease or anything like that. You need trombone slide cream and don't put any water on it. Cleaning it, I use the B Sharp cleaning solution. So you get a cup of it, into a bath of warm water, take out all the tubes, all the valves, everything that can be removed, let it soak for an hour. Most of the stuff will just fall out, all the debris that's collected. And then a good kind of hose pipe or brush, especially through the lead pipe, and do that every 2 months. I play a lot, so my instruments get more dirty than occasional players. Am I the real Stephen Mead? No. So the B Sharp instrument kit is very good, but the cleaning solution, what do they call it? They call it the soak. It's the magic word. Is really good. It'll last you, unless you drink the stuff, which Trump would probably suggest. It should last you a long time, and then you just buy some more. And you need a brush, and you need a valve brush, a brush that just about covers the whole width of the valve casing, and you need a snake to go down. Very important that the clean your lead pipe. Really important. That's where all the bad stuff is. It's not hiding between your second and third valves. It's all in. Trust me. I bought one of those endoscope cameras. A USB connector with a little light. I could see it all on my computer screen, like open heart surgery. It's like, that's horrible. I just wanted to check that it worked. So keep your lead pipe clean. It affects intonation, response, tuning on the high notes especially. So be really careful with that. My instrument doesn't smell. Yours may do, Bogdan, so you need to keep it really clean because that doesn't sound good, especially in the days of super hygiene that we live now. Where's the smell coming from? You have to let me know about that. Are there any things you are still working on with Euphonium? No, I've finished. Lots of things. I had concertos that I was looking at for the summer, and they're all cancelled. So I'm kind of reading through stuff in my library. I'm now working my way back through the Stephen Mead Advanced Concert Studies that I recorded years ago. I'm trying to do clean runs of them. Andy Kershaw has just brought out a book, which will be in the Euphonium store next week, of lots of old 19th century polkas and real characteristic pieces. Huge fun to play. I'm going to make some videos of those and show them. And Viennese type stuff and polkas and waltzes. So I'm just having some fun at the moment, and I'm trying to go through all the solos that I know from memory and making sure I do know them from memory. I have some days when I'm working on technical stuff, and I have other days, honestly, play days. I just play through 20 different solos as well as I can, as if I'm on the stage of the Albert Hall. And I'm not. I'm in my front room or I'm down south. But I'm playing 3 times a day. The first session is usually the longest. The second is usually the most fun. And the third one is just to kind of, that's how my 3 things. So probably about 4 hours a day, 3.5, 4 hours a day when I can. Mum's out of hospital tomorrow. So it'll be a little bit less tomorrow as my dear mother needs some attention and distanced attention. It's going to be a tricky one. So it's 5:42. Let's just see if we can wrap things up. Christopher Moreno, do you have your arrangement of Humoresque for sale somewhere? I was just thinking today, Christopher, people asking about sheet music to the Euphonium Magic. I have the Humoresque in the filing cabinet. It's not for sale. And I don't know that a lot of Maurice Bale's stuff like that will ever be for sale. And so it needs to be available. I need to find out who owns the copyright. And if they're not going to release it, his arrangements are too good not to release. Really, they're just great. Some of them are really hard. And there's one or two arrangements he did of a Chopin impromptu. Oh no, was it for euphonium quartet? And I actually thought about doing it on one of the Euphonium Magic CDs. We didn't get to the studio because I realized, I think about a few weeks before, that I couldn't play it. Or I couldn't do all the dovetailing. It would take too long, you know. So I will find the humoresque and some of other Morris's pieces. I also need to talk to Adam Fry, because I heard that Adam Fry was going to make a lot of Morris Bale's, God rest in peace. Rest in peace, Morris Bale. Adam was going to make a lot of those pieces available, and I haven't seen them. Fly Me to the Moon exists as a trombone quintet, I think available from Warwick Music. So I can't put Fly Me to the Moon. That's a published edition for trombones, Mark. So if you put trombone quintet, Fly Me to the Moon, with the arranger, it's a London arranger, isn't it? You should find that still available. Do I think I'll record an album of Butterworth's Summer Music, Rudin's Hallows, and the new concerto by the Polish composer? Well, the new concerto has been done. That's on a CD. Didn't you know? Available on euphoniumstore.net. So, but the Hallows concerto needs to be done. I would love to do an orchestral version of the Ellaby. We were talking provisionally about putting together a bid to record it with the Halle Orchestra a couple of years ago, and things just got in the way. But Butterworth's Summer Music is really an epic piece. And I did it in a recital live at the Royal Northern College of Music in around 1998, where I played Ellaby, Summer Music. Mark Bowsey knows because he was there. It was like Blue Lake Fantasies. There was like 4 of the biggest pieces, and I just played them one after the other. Not sure if I could do that now. It's worth a challenge. Great. More solos by Manuel Ponce. Yes. Mark, if you've got some more titles, my dear friend, could you send me them? Because I love Estrelita. Beautiful. Did I tell the story about Estrelita? So the last story of the day, folks, because it's somebody's bedtime somewhere. In 1990, I went to New Zealand for the weekend. Boom, boom, boom. Grindthorpe College was supposed to be doing the gala concert of the New Zealand Brass Band Championships in Dunedin. They pulled out about 6 weeks before. The money didn't work out. I got a call, Stephen, would you like to go to New Zealand to perform as soloist in the gala concert? Yes, 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 I'd love to go, but it's 2 weeks before my wedding, my first one. And so I said, I can go, but I can go on the Thursday. I have to be back by the Tuesday. So New Zealand is a long way to go for the weekend. I don't recommend it. So I went from London to Los Angeles to San Francisco, San Francisco, Honolulu, to Auckland, to Dunedin. And I got there Friday night. I went to the solo contest just to watch the solo contest. I was guest of honor. People clap, clap, clap. And within 10 minutes, I was asleep on the balcony. Would you like to go? Oh, yes, please. Next day was the concert. And on Sunday, I went to the marching contest. And Sunday night, I got back on the plane. I got back Tuesday morning. Anyway, while at Los Angeles airport, I had 5 hours to kill. It's a long trip. Oh, my goodness. It would kill me now, really. It would. And I went to the airport information. Excuse me, do you know where I can practice my euphonium? Can you imagine the reaction? You what? Hey man, just go outside and go to a car park, just play there. Anywhere's free, So I went to the top of a multi-story car park, went right to the end, what I thought out of everybody's way. I put on my sunglasses and played all my exercises, a couple of solos for the weekend. And I was just about to finish and done about an hour and a half, I think. And I saw a guy walking towards me. Oh, I'm in Los Angeles. All I could think of was, this is straight out of a movie. This guy's going to come and steal my euphonium, put some bullets through me. I was young and impressionable. So I waited. He walked. He was pushing a baggage trolley, but didn't have any bags. And he walked past the last car, and I thought, he's coming for me. So I thought, right, British accent. Oh, good afternoon. I remember flipping up my sunglasses. That's how trendy I was in those days. Good afternoon. And he looked at me and he went, very nice music. I said, oh, thank you so much. And yeah, I love music. I said, anyway, it wasn't as bad as I first imagined. He told me his life story. He was one of 6 boys, all with the same name, and he had no teeth. He had obviously had a very difficult life. And he told me that he loved to play music, and he was from Mexico. I played him Estrelita, and he had tears streaming down his face. It was beautiful. It was. I thought it was going to be a scary moment, and there he was pouring his heart out, and I played Estrelita for him. And then he sat on his baggage trolley because his job was to pick up the baggage trolleys. He was a baggage trolley collector, and he sat there, and he was my audience. I played about 15 minutes, 5 or 6 tunes with him, mostly slow pieces, but I think I tried out one of the pieces for the weekend as well. It sounded a bit Mexican. Rondo by Claude T. Smith. And then we went on our way together, like 2 reunited friends, as far as the elevator. It was beautiful. So that's my Estrelita memory, and how music absolutely touches people and brings people together, which we know. We knew, and a beautiful tune. So let's find more songs, Mark, by Manuel Ponce. That could be a nice little project to do. Biggest tip for middle schoolers such as myself. Yeah, okay, enjoy it. Find a way to enjoy your practice. Set yourself some short, middle, and long-term goals. Listen to music. Listen to great music. Listen to great musicians. Get sound concepts in your head that you try initially to copy when you play. Enjoy performing. Play for people. Those are lots of tips. Keep your feet on the ground. Be honest with yourself. Never lose your sense of humor. Always try and be positive. Always try and help people, musicians around you, because you'll want other people to help you. Don't be overly critical. Be competitive, but keep everything in perspective. And yeah, just be an honest, good person who plays music, and you will go a very long way as a musician in this world. Mr. Euphonium player, I don't know your name, but thanks for the question. I did record his Partita for Euphonium. It's on World of Euphonium Volume 1, the organ, yes, in my local church, Fenny Drayton, with a rented little grand piano from London, which we had to keep tuning about every 2 hours. That was nice. Folks, it's 5:51. Thank you so much for your questions today. Wow, really nice questions. I'm heading down to the South Coast. Dominic Cummings is coming with me. No, he's not. It's a joke. It's a British joke if you know about Dominic Cummings. He goes the other direction. He goes north. So I may be fired from Boris Johnson's cabinet if I was in it, but I'm not. I'm going to see my mum. And I'm going to hopefully go to the care home also and talk to Dad through the window this week, because I've missed him so much. And even if it seems strange, I'm going to do a window conversation with Dad. So lots of things to do this week. And thank you for your questions and for your energy. Lots of friends and some people that I haven't talked to before. And thank you for your messages. So, folks, next Saturday, 2 p.m. UK time, 2 until 3:30 p.m., I shall be doing a recap on all the exercises, giving you some new ones, doing some stuff together, and just in case you need your batteries recharging. So thank you very much for being here. I wish you a lovely rest of the weekend. We have nice weather in the UK, but everybody keep safe. This bloody virus is still around. It's certainly still prevalent in the UK. So we've got to be safe and keep distanced and look after each other. Thank you, my friends. Take care. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.